All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell. Yeah, you didn't get rid of me too soon, did you? Or do you even miss me so much? Well, I'm back, at least for this week. So this episode is going to be mostly it's going to just talk about AEW Revolution. Yes, I know that was 2 weeks ago, and a lot has changed since everything that's happened here. Of course, with the TNT title itself, we'll discuss that when it gets to that time. Of course, we'll talk about the 0 hour, which was one match, and then all the other matches that came with it. It wasn't a whole lot of matches, and I'm actually kind of happy there wasn't, because usually they just overload this
Yeah,
pay per view with so many damn matches, and then this pay per view actually felt like, you know, they had less matches. You didn't get overabundance of matches
right,
for
right.
like
It didn't.
4 or 5 hours
Yeah,
or
it
something like
didn't
that.
feel like it felt like a super card at the end of the day, but it didn't feel as much of a. It didn't feel like as much of a super card as like previous AEW pay-per-views.
Right. So we get on to the very first match of the 0 hour, and it's Lucha Brothers and Mark Briscoe facing off against the Varsity Athletes and Ari Davari. Um, it would be cool to see Mark Briscoe and the Lucha Brothers, kind of form a trio in AEW. I don't know the true, you know, thing of what Mark Briscoe is going to be doing. He is all elite, so he is
Yeah,
officially on the roster. So if he truly wanted to team up with the Lucha Brothers and form a trio, he could. But the thing is you still have
you still have Death
Death
Triangle.
Triangle, who have won the World Trios Tag Team titles and have lost them. So truly, I don't know what Mark Briscoe can do. Um,
I don't know
unless
really.
unless he somehow branch pack off on his own. I don't understand why he hasn't. I get, Death Triangle is cool and
I
everything.
mean, he kind of has like especially as of late, he's been trying to branch off on his own, and
Right,
even then, it's like he kind of really, unfortunately, has no choice now to but to branch off on his own. Um,
right.
but I mean, ultimately, like in AEW, what can you do with him? I don't know really if there's anything like you know I don't really know, like, and no disrespect to Mark Briscoe, but I don't really think there's a lot that you can really do with him in AEW anyway.
Yeah, but there's not a whole lot that you can do with him in ROH, because in ROH he was mostly a tag team guy. I get it. Jay
Well,
Briscoe did branch on his own and won the world championship and
see,
stuff like that.
I, I'm gonna correct you on that actually, because while Jay was chasing the world title, Mark was chasing the television title,
Okay.
and so that's why they've started to plant the seed in ROH for Mark Briscoe to go after Samoa Joe, which kind of like I can see why a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, well, why don't you have Mark challenge the world title?" And people had mentioned, well, during the time that Jay was world champion in ROH, Mark was chasing. It's like, okay, yeah, like that makes sense storyline wise, but
Hmm.
at the same like at this point in his career, it's like do it for Jay. Go after the world title.
Right.
You know, like I it's fine and dandy if you want to go after the television title again, but at the same time, if you're going to do that, win the television title and then go after the world title like not necessarily like unify
Uh
them,
huh.
but like be a co-holder.
Right. Um. So ultimately, in the end, it was the Lucha Brothers and Mark Briscoe that beat the Varsity Athletes and Ari Davari. But um, it was also, announced recently that at Supercard of Honor, which is March 31st,
Yes.
which is weird to
Well,
have a pay per
well,
view on a Friday
well.
night.
Here's the thing.
I don't know if you know that,
So, well, here's the thing. So, Supercard of Honor is that Friday, the 31st.
Yeah.
Multiverse United, which is the Impact and New Japan cross branded show, is the day before. So, I would like to be able to talk about both, but if
Oh,
I talk about both, it's just going to be way too long of an
yeah.
episode.
That's why programming no next week we're probably gonna see about trying to add ROH as well as AEW and Impact. ROH will probably be talking about it as much going forward. Of
Well,
course.
here's the thing. Ring of Honor is a 2 hour show, much like Impact. However, Ring of Honor is 2 straight hours, no commercials. So, whereas Impact at least has, like, it without commercials, it's about like an hour and a half, maybe like hour 45 ish. So, and honestly, there's a lot more that goes on with a Ring of Honor show than an Impact show. So, I mean, it depends
What you're thinking
how.
about dropping Impact for ROH? Is that what you're trying to get
I
at?
mean, I would like to be able to continue talking about Impact, don't get me wrong. But yeah, just to kind of keep the shows at the same amount of time, at least for like weekly tapings for ROH, maybe or at least like in terms of weekly tapings for Impact, maybe dropping that in favor of the weekly tapings for Ring of Honor.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna try to add on ROH and talk about all of Tony Khan's shows that he has, Rampage.
Well, not all Tony Khan shows. I mean, we're not talking about Dark
No,
Elevation
no, no.
here,
Yeah, well,
but
all the main
which
shows that are
but
televised.
speaking of Tony Khan and his shows, I'm not sure if you heard, their Warner Brothers Discovery is planning on adding a new show for like Saturdays or whatever.
Oh, really?
I don't know how I feel about that. Honestly, three television shows, it's a bit much, especially considering you're essentially going to have, like, with that, there's going to be like an overabundance of AEW slash Ring of Honor content
I mean, there might be,
for
but
every day of the week, basically, if you don't count, because essentially Monday would be Dark Elevation, Tuesday would be Dark, Wednesday Dynamite, Thursday Ring of Honor, Friday Rampage, AEW, and then Saturday that new show, and then Sunday is a pay per view every few months.
right, yeah, it
So,
might be a little much, but honestly, I'm all for more AEW content. Yeah, it means that you have to be more on top of it, but um,
well, that's the thing too is if you're gonna have all that content,
personally,
AEW really needs to try and see about like landing a subscription service
right, I would agree.
because honestly, and even then, it's like I don't really think you could put AEW content on Honor Club.
Probably not, but hey, oh well. So we got onto the main show, and I tell you what, Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho. I don't know if I was super impressed with this match, to be honest with you, but Ricky Starks, I know. Um, Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho were literally beating the crap out of each other. The rivalry between these two men had been brewing for months. Um, Ricky
I don't know
Starks.
so much about months, but it's definitely been brewing for a few weeks.
Yeah, so Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho have been,
I think it
at
was
each other,
I think it was like the beginning of the year they started feuding.
something like that. Um, so again, Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho are literally beating the shit out of each other in this match, and Ricky Starks um, gave Chris Jericho one hell of a spear in that match, and I know that Ricky's
Although Chris Jericho didn't quite sell that spear and take it too well,
probably not, but
but
hey, it's all right. So
hey, I look at it this way: Jericho's trying to get as much light, I guess you could say, life out of his current run in AEW
right,
because he knows that he doesn't really have many years left in the business
no,
at
he
this
definitely
point,
does not.
especially at his age. He
Right,
doesn't really have a lot,
but
many more years left. So
I
he's
think
kind of
the
taking it safe, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah, no, I think Ricky Starks, the right man, won this
yes,
match. Um, Nothing against Chris Jericho, but it's all right for him to lose. He's had a very lengthy career. I don't think
I mean,
you know
he's got to
he's
build
already
up these, he's,
he's already won the ROH world title. He's won the AEW world title. He's won
yeah.
multiple world titles in different promotions. So
I
I
don't
would be
know.
totally fine with him not really doing much. I mean, he still has the Jericho Appreciation Society to take care of.
Yeah,
If there's anything that I want to see the JAS do, why don't they try to go after the World
like
Trios
oh,
tag team
trios or
titles or
tag
the tag
teams.
team titles? Do something with them. Because he keeps on
Yeah, I
saying,
mean,
"Oh, we're gonna go after the tag team titles. We're gonna go after tag team titles. We're gonna go after tag team titles."
I don't know if they've
Stop
actually
saying it
even.
and actually do it because
Yeah, and not for nothing, I don't even know if they've actually like any time they've ever said that. I don't even know if they've actually been in the rankings. Like,
no,
I don't know if they've actually made the rankings for
they probably have in the past, but honestly,
maybe like top 10.
right
I don't know necessarily about top 5 because usually the way AEW's ranking system work is like if you're in the top 5, then you start to challenge for the title. But
right.
if Jericho and any of his like teams that he's been on, whether it's teaming with Hager or Le Sex Gods or you know Garcia Co. or whatever, um, he really hasn't ever been like top 5, at least that I know of, when it
Doesn't
comes to.
I mean it doesn't seem like it, but honestly, um,
But who's to say Jericho couldn't get another tag team
and
title
then
run?
after a win like this for Ricky Starks, start doing something with him and going after like the TNT Championship, the
I
All
agree.
Atlantic Championship. Start
Well, it's not. It.
utilize.
Um, by the way, sorry to cut you off. It is no longer the All Atlantic Championship. It is now the International Championship.
Really?
Yes. So I think they started calling it that like shortly after, like on like the first Dynamite after Revolution,
Hmm.
which I personally don't get why they are starting to call it the International Championship, but regardless, yeah. And
Okay, I mean sure. I mean or the international championship or doing something
well, but
because there's enough titles in AEW and ROH
yes,
to be able to have Ricky doing something. So I think Tony Khan, you have something, you know, or and don't get me wrong, what you could do, and I know you might be super opposed by this, why don't you restart the rivalry between Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks with the whole TNT Championship thing?
actually, I'm not opposed to that.
Because
I
they have some history with
They
each
do have
other.
history, and it would make the most sense to actually have them rekindle their
Right.
rivalry with an actual championship on the line this
Personally,
time.
Tony Khan, I think that's what you should do. You should head into Double or Nothing with Ricky and Powerhouse Hobbs for the TNT Championship. I'd say give Powerhouse Hobbs a nice like couple month reign.
Well, and, that's the thing too, is like that rivalry kind of ended abruptly anyways. So why don't you actually like rekindle it with an actual like end goal in
Right.
mind, being the TNT Championship for Ricky Starks. Like,
Yeah.
have that end goal be like, okay, Ricky. And even then, if Ricky doesn't win it, then at least you got your story out of this that Ricky is chasing Powerhouse Hobbs' TNT title, and then just
Right.
like there's things you can do with that.
I think that I'm hoping that's what the case will be. But we get on to a match where at least it kind of
Yeah,
the
they.
rivalry kind of did restart in a way, but kind of
I mean,
ended.
because the thing is, like, they kind of had to put the story on a like they kind of had to put the story on a hiatus for a little bit, anyways, considering Christian Cage was coming off of a, I believe, torn tricep or torn by one of the two, um, after All Out. So, which, yeah, because like they had that, I believe it was at All Out where like they had the match and it was like a short, like what, not even 15-second squash,
Hmm.
something like that, and then you know you built it up for months that like, oh yeah, um, Christian Cage is still tormenting Jack Perry and like talking about his dead father and all this stuff, and then it's like, oh well, Christian Cage isn't around anymore. He's rehabbing his torn, you know, his arm, and they were like, okay, well, we need something to do for Jungle Boy, and that was when they had the whole thing of like, oh, Jungle Boy, he's he's trying to go after some championship gold, and then next thing you know, oh hey, by the way, Christian's back. We can continue the story and
Right.
actually give it a definitive ending,
I will
which is,
say that this match definitely had its moments, had its ups
well,
and
it was called the Final Burial, which you know, I safe to say it was a fitting title for this match and the ending of this like storyline.
yeah, it kind of buried the storyline. It's gonna give something new, something fresh for Jungle Boy. I'm hoping it's good things for Jungle Boy going forward as a singles competitor because he has proven himself that he can be, a future star in the company. Can hold his own against top tier talent like
I mean,
Christian.
granted,
But I will say that Jungle Boy literally brought it to Christian Cage. They beat the living crap out of each other. You saw Jungle Boy,
yeah,
on laying on the stage. You saw the concerto by Jungle Boy that led, Christian Cage led him to that point.
yeah,
Jungle Boy didn't seem like he wanted to do it, but it led him to
he didn't want to do it, but
it led him
Christian Cage pushed him
to
to
that
that
point.
limit and pushed him to the edge.
You
That
know, this is a nice like edgier side of Christian of Jungle Boy that we have needed for so long
yes,
because he's been in the shadows of the tag team division
yeah,
for
I
so
was just
many
about to say that. Like,
for so
granted,
long.
he was he is a former tag team champion with Luchasaurus, but that's also like that story kind of ran its course, and even then, at this
Right.
point, we have no idea what the hell is even going on with Luchasaurus. Like
Yeah,
he was kind of there, and now he's not
I
really
don't think
there
there's a whole lot
anymore.
of plans for Luchasaurus, and honestly, it's not a terrible thing because you know I get it. He's a big guy, and probably if he was going anywhere
He's
else,
a
he would.
big agile guy.
I mean,
That's
I get it. There are a lot of talent, and it's kind of hard to use all the talent and find things to
Yeah,
do
I
with
mean,
them.
I was gonna say that's really my only gripe about AEW is there seems to be like an oversaturation of talent that like it seems at times like Tony Khan just doesn't quite know what to
Yeah,
do with his overabundance of
but I
talent.
feel like
But
that can be the case with a lot of promotions. Is that it kind of runs your course, and then creative kind of like lose of
oh,
like
you mean like WWE?
yeah. See that's what I'm saying. Like it can be like that for a lot of promotions where like kind of runs its course, and then like what do we do with him? You know, I think it'll play out with Luchasaurus. We'll just have to keep on watching Dynamite and Rampage to see what's going to go on.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, you kind of have a point. It's like that kind of thing can happen in Impact as well, because like
Exactly.
you know,
It just run your storyline kind of runs its course, and then you kind of just have to wait until your time is gone. But if there's anybody that I'm sick and tired of waiting to see what's going to be happening, where the fuck is Miro?
well,
You know,
Yeah, him, in WWE, Roderick Strong, he
And
literally
that's,
hasn't been used in NXT since like August of last year.
you know,
Like, at that point, why don't you just release Roderick Strong so
bring him
that he
back to
can go out
ROH or something like that.
that, or have him be with his buddies in
Same
AEW,
thing with like
reunite the Undisputed Elite,
I would assume that
except
that
without Bobby Fish.
yeah, I was gonna say
Folks, where's the lie?
I would assume that Adam Cole is eventually going to be in the picture too, but I think heading into um, Double or Nothing, like I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen. I would love to see him maybe go after the world title. I think Darby, you know, maybe could too, but like I'm very interested to see because what I love about after these pay-per-views is you can go in any direction.
Yeah.
You can plug pieces anywhere that's gonna fit. That's what I love about you get done with the pay per view and then there's like fresh ideas. This is the one thing I
Although,
like
I
about
mean,
AEW better than WWE is that it seems like with the long lengthy time from pay per view to pay per view, you don't have to keep on having it where it's rival.
right.
There's not like super long
Yeah.
rivalries.
I
There
mean,
can be, but they don't really seem to have them like for too
yeah.
long.
And like, that's the problem with, having a pay per view essentially like every month is then, like after one pay per view, you gotta scramble for ideas for the next pay per view, and so on and so forth. Whereas with AEW, there's only a pay per view like not even 2 or 3 months after the
Right,
last. So at least you have time to actually like, see what works, see what doesn't work, see what you want to do for the pay per view, see what you don't want to do for the pay per view. Like
right,
you have
exactly.
time, you
Well,
know.
ultimately, um, like I said, Jungle Boy Jack Perry does beat Christian Cage. He buries him.
Yes.
Um,
So the to give an idea of like how the finish, like what the finish looks like for the final burial. Basically, it's a casket match with the with essentially like the final nail in the coffin, I guess you could say, being buried alive. So it's like you throw him in the casket, and then the casket lowers 6 feet down, and it's essentially like a buried alive. So
See, I would assume that I hate to break the fourth wall, but I would assume how they do it is like they are in a casket, then lowers it, and they kind of like open like there's like a compartment where they open the thing, and then they go out that way to the back or something like
oh,
that.
you
I
mean
would
kind of like how the Cody Vader
yeah,
used to work?
kind of in a way. I was always wondering like how that works for those buried alive matches, but I think that's how it goes. But
There
either
would have
way,
to be like a secret like trapdoor
there
underneath like
has to be.
the dirt
But
and
either
rubble
way,
or
I'm
whatever.
glad that
But
Christian Cage is done and out of the way. Um, but
but but it kind of makes you wonder like where does Christian Cage go from here now that he
there's not really a
you
whole
know
lot that he needs to do. Honestly, he can continue probably putting the younger talent over if you
I
really
mean
want to.
technically he did have one final world championship run anyways, albeit it was the Impact World
I
title,
mean,
but
he has stated that he wants to win gold in AEW. So honestly, I would not be opposed to that possibly happening. There's a couple other, you know,
who's to
titles
say
that he
he
can go
doesn't
after.
become the AEW International Champion?
Could happen. Could happen. Um,
But at the same time, I don't know necessarily that I would want Christian Cage to be the one to defeat Orange Cassidy for it.
eh, we'll see what happens, honestly. But to be truthfully honest with you, anything could happen.
Yeah,
Anything could really happen. We're gonna get on to
especially
the.
with what happened in our
Oh,
next
I know
match.
this match was freaking great. These two teams, almost as much as the Elite and the Death Triangle, man, they fucking brought it. I called this one. I said it all along. I could see these two teams face off against each other for the World Trios Tag Team titles, and what happened? It happened.
Yeah,
But the outcome of what happened, I
Wasn't quite
can't
what you
really
expected.
remember what I said. I don't know if I said something about like seeing like the House of Black actually win or it being the Elite. But honestly, I think I did say something about the Elite keeping the titles, but it being against the House of Black. Well, truthfully, man, I tell you what, the House of Black brought it. Um, you know, I was saying to Marty, it would be cool if somehow um, Kenny Omega like does like a tries to go for like the V trigger and then gets like reversed into like or and then like hits like the black mask on him while he's trying to go for the V trigger. That would have been a cool finish. Um, I think he kind of did go for something like that, but it was a 1-2 kick out and
Well, we know that
ultimately Dante's Inferno
yeah, we
from
know that Malachi did hit Kenny with a brutal looking black mass. But other than
what
that,
about the brutal freaking
oh my god, yeah,
knee
that neat that when the
by
Bucks were trying to set
Buddy
up the Melter
Matthews?
driver, next thing you know, Buddy Matthews just comes out of nowhere and plants Nick Jackson with a vicious looking knee to the face. I mean, granted, Nick expected it, so he, put his hands up to protect himself, but even just in general, like, it was one of those like blink or you'll miss it, or or
You know, there was
how does that
multiple.
saying go? Like blink twice or you miss it, or like
Right,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
It was one of those moments. It's like if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
I know. It's crazy to think about too because the House of Black brought it to the Elite. There was multiple times where I thought, oh man, maybe the Elite are actually going to retain and be able to have a nice lengthy reign other than just like 56 days as
Is
champs.
that really how long it was?
Yeah, apparently 56 days as champs.
That's rather short.
It is, and it does seem to happen a
But at least
lot.
they had a reign with it after the
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
fiasco with Brawl Out.
Um, but ultimately, I think that the House of Black deserved to get the win here. Um, I don't honestly know who's going to be next for them. There's a lot of trios that could still go after them. Um, but to be honest with you, I'm all for them having a reign of terror as the World Trios Tag Team Champs. I would
Yeah,
like for them to have a um, contest or whatever you want to say. I would like for them and Death Triangle to have a feud because you kind of had them feuding for a while and then it kind of just randomly stopped and then you
yeah.
had
Well, I mean,
I know because the house Malachi had went away for a little
well,
bit.
that's the thing too is they had that match after All Out for the vacant at the time trios titles, to which Death Triangle won. So like you could run it again, but this time with House of Black as the trios champions, and then
But
you
then
know,
again, like you could kind of give it to a different trio too. So I don't know what they could truly do with the House of Black, but there's also a lot of opportunities there of what you could and could not do. But honestly, I'm all for them being the champs. I think it's a good thing for AEW. It's a good thing for them
yeah,
coming back and winning them. Um, I say keep it up. Give them a nice lengthy reign as World Trios Tag Team Champs. So who knows who's going to be next for them. So we're going to get onto the Women's World Championship match as Jamie Hayter faces off against Soraya and Ruby Soho. Um, now, with it being a triple threat match, I'm shocked that these women didn't like try to use it to their advantage more
oh what,
often
and like use a lot of weapons or
because they could have used weapons. They could have fought outside a lot more. It's mostly inside. I mean, yeah, they did fight outside and all the other stuff too before I think the match or whatnot, but still, I mean, these three women did a decent job to be able to win. I mean, but ultimately, I mean, what's your fair assessment of this match?
Um, I mean, there was a lot of action going on, but not really like the main takeaway of the match is what came after the bell.
Right. So
So
yeah, Jamie Hayter does retain against Saraya and Ruby Soho, and then afterwards, you thought maybe Ruby Soho was actually going to side with
with
Jamie Hayter
Britt
and
and
Britt
Jamie,
Baker,
yeah,
but no, she sides
yep,
with Saraya and Tony Storm.
to form the Outcasts.
Um, Personally, I'm okay with it. Um, it gives a different direction, but like, you don't really see a whole lot of women's factions in AEW, so I would like to see maybe a little bit more of it. But the thing is, I would like to also see them shine a little bit more light on the women's division. I get that you only have one match on the card, where usually other pay per views maybe have two or three, but still, I'm all for Jamie Hayter being the champion still. You know, it's good for her to have a nice lengthy reign. Um, I'm hoping that maybe once Chris Statlander comes back, that she can either go after the TNT TBS Championship or the
Nah, she's
AEW
got to be the
Women's.
one to. She's got to be the one to dethrone Jade,
Like,
ultimately.
I'm hoping that
But I
she's
do
going to be
kind
coming
of,
back very
yeah.
soon
But I
because
do also kind of feel like, yeah, no, Statlander should, you know, get a shot at the world women's title. But I mean,
right,
ultimately, whatever they decide to do with Statlander after she's back and healthy is whatever they decide to do. Ultimately, I feel like, you know, she was the ultimate like end goal for the one to end Jade Cargill's undefeated streak, but at the same time, it's like, well, you know, she unfortunately got injured, so
right. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm okay with Ruby Soho joining up with them. But the thing is that it's just like, she takes a lot of these L's when it matters most, and it seems like you keep on running out of ideas. I
yeah.
mean, I get it, Tony Storm has won a title. I would like to see Saraya maybe going after the Women's World Championship too. I mean, at least give her one last.
But ultimately, Ruby Soho needs to win a world title on like a big stage.
Yeah,
Like
I
that's the
agree.
one thing that like just needs to happen because like she never got that in WWE, and at this point, it's starting to make you question if she's ever gonna do it in AEW. So
Right.
you know,
So we get on to one hell of a beatdown of a match. Adam Hangman Page and John frickin' Moxley. I tell you,
Texas Death
yeah,
Match,
yeah. Oh yeah,
which
it definitely had that the death match type of feel to it
well, see,
because
here's the thing, and I was telling Jason about this while we were watching Rampage, or I'm sorry, Revolution. It's not a true Texas Death Match because a true Texas Death Match is um, you get a pinfall or submission,
hmm
and then while they're down, the referee counts to 10. And if they don't make it back up before the count of 10, then you win.
right.
So this was more like a last man standing match esque, if you want to call it that. So,
Yeah, because honestly, like
because the only way to
there was
win that
definitely a
match
lot
was
of
by
use of
knockout
weapons.
or
I
submission.
mean, shit. There was,
A lot of
chairs.
barbed
There
wire.
was yes, a lot of barbed wire. I mean, forget Adam Hangman Page wrapped around his arm, wrapped around his
Wrapped
leg,
around his.
wrapped around his stomach.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there was use of the barbed wire board, the barbed
Yep.
wire bat.
A
Shit,
barbed
they were
wire
even
steel
using
chair.
bricks,
Yeah,
like
brick.
bricks, like John Moxley's,
Stomped Hangman
hand on the brick.
hand between two bricks.
Then
Then he
Hangman
curb
got
stomped him
curb
onto a
stomped
brick.
on the bricks.
To which
The chain
afterwards,
was used heavily in the
yeah,
match.
to which after Moxley curb stomped Hangman onto a brick, the crowd actually started chanting, singing Rollins' theme song, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I kind of found that funny a little bit too.
But
But
yeah,
man, I tell you, these two men were bleeding profusely. They were beating each other
Moxley
up.
more so than Hangman. But
Um, there was waltz and everything from that
oh yeah,
match. I mean, it was just a brutal, bloody match that needed to happen between these two men. Um,
but yeah, the finish was like a lot of people were uh, turned away. A lot of people didn't, you know, got a little sensitive about the finish.
yes, so Adam
So
Hangman Page beats John Moxley by submission by hanging him with a chain on the ropes.
yeah, and a lot of people were pretty sensitive about that. It's like that's the death in Texas death match.
Right.
That's what I was telling Jason. Like, you know, and even then, I was looking at it and I'm like, yeah, you people would not have survived uh, ECW. I mean,
Honestly, there was a lot of
during
people.
ECW, there was a man that was literally crucified on a cross. It's like, and you mean to tell me that a man being hung by a chain, like, is too much for you?
I know because honestly, like even with what was going on during that match, the beatdown, the barbed wire, the crazy crap that they were doing, there are people that were chanting EC Dub,
Yeah,
EC Dub. You know, San Fran's a good, I guess, wrestling city because you know they were saying fuck him up, fuck him up, Moxley, fuck him
yeah.
up, or or fuck him up, Hangman, or something like that too.
I mean,
But
during the final burial, people were chanting "fuck him up, Jungle Boy." So
yeah, so it was a pretty, I feel like that city is a very hardcore city. But man, I tell you, Adam Hangman Page, I think deserved to get the win. I hope it that big things are coming for him. A turnaround of sorts that he can get after the World Heavyweight Championship, or here's the thing, become the first ever Triple Crown champion. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if it's the world title, the tag team title, and the TNT title, or now that you have the
well, no, I mean, I
international
was gonna say now that you
title.
have the international championship, as long as he wins like a mid card title, he can be a triple crown champion.
Right. So
But,
honestly,
however, um, I would say make Hangman the first triple crown, but also make him the first Grand Slam. Have him win both the TNT and international title and become a Grand Slam champion in AEW.
it would be nice because it's never been done yet.
It hasn't been done yet. He would be the first, you know.
I'm hoping that's the case because I think he definitely needs to get bigger, better
Well,
things
that's the
after
thing too
beating
is
John
you know
Moxley.
that's the thing too is AEW so far has had its fair share of
Because not a lot of
historic
people,
moments.
not a lot of
Why not
people
have
say
another historic moment?
they've beaten John Moxley, let alone beaten a former three-time
Yeah,
world champion too.
yeah.
So this one, I don't know if there's much I can say about this one. I get it, you had to kind of have time for the last match too, but ultimately, I don't think I'm going to talk too much about this one. Wardlow does beat Samoa Joe to win the TNT Championship by his own submission move, but then
Yeah, the
shortly
coquina
a
clutch.
week after, which is the shortest reign
Well,
of the TNT
not even the week
Championship.
after. Literally days after
Yeah, I was going to
Revolution.
say days after Revolution, because it was on a
It was that Wednesday. They had
Sunday,
mentioned yeah,
March 5th.
and then Wednesday, March 8th. So literally like,
Wardlow
but yeah. So
loses to
they had
Powerhouse
mentioned it
Hobbs
on
to win his very
commentary.
first title in AEW.
They had mentioned it on commentary for the match between Wardlow and Samoa Joe that the winner would face Powerhouse Hobbs on Dynamite, since Powerhouse Hobbs won the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and then you know.
Which, no
But yeah,
offense,
so
I feel like they should leave that for Revolution. I get it. You know, you wanted to do it beforehand because you had the hour-long match. If it wasn't for the hour-long match, you probably could have had the Face of the
yeah,
Revolution ladder match on the show. But, like, still, just, it's always been on Revolution. The last three Revolutions prior to this one. But they decided
actually, I
against
don't
it.
know if I don't even know if last year's Face of
No, I'm pretty sure
Revolution
last year had one on the main show.
with Scorpio Sky.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
and then he won a TNT Championship afterwards.
yeah,
I mean, I guess I'm okay with getting the brass ring being like an ultimate shot for the TNT
it's barely a
Championship.
brass ring, dude. It looks more like a Sonic Golden ring.
Yeah, it does. But yeah,
Actually, it looks like a big gold donut, if anything.
congratulations to Will Hobbs on winning
Yes,
your first championship in AEW. It means good things and big things for him going forward. He can only go up from here.
yes.
I'm kind of happy that they kind of reinvented Will Hobbs. I get it, you got the Book of Hobbs and the thing of, the kind of character
Yeah,
that
but
he is now.
now he's starting to like align himself with like QT Marshall. It's kind of weird, but I mean, hey, if that's the direction they want to go with Powerhouse Hobbs,
Right,
by all
exactly.
means.
But congratulations, but honestly, I still would like to see Ricky Starks challenge after him or somebody challenge after him. I would like to see him kind of defend it every single week, but we'll see what happens. Um,
I mean, you thought that was going to happen with Wardlow's reign after Revolution, but then,
right. Uh,
at this point, I think Wardlow now is the shortest reigning TNT champion in history. I think
so the
now.
the next match before the 60-minute Iron Man match
Yes,
is the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match between the Guns, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, Orange Cassidy and
Danhausen.
Danhausen, and the Acclaimed. Um, for the World Tag Team titles. This one actually was a pretty good match. I mean, all four of these teams brought it and beat the living crap out of each other. Um, saw a little bit of Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh in there, trying to cause havoc. And then, you saw you maybe thought here and there, maybe the Acclaim could actually be able to win the titles back. No, it did not happen. Then there's a little thought of maybe Orange Cassidy and Danhausen can do it. Nope. Then you thought, oh damn, I guess it's gonna be freaking Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. No, actually the Guns retain their World Tag Team titles,
Yeah,
but
shockingly.
afterwards they claim they are the best tag team in the world.
Not if FTR has anything to say
And
about it.
out come FTR, the beatdown of Guns, and guess what? It is now called the Shatter Machine.
Yes, they brought that name back. No longer is it called the
And I
Big
tell you
Rig.
what, they're
No
looking
longer is it called the
swole.
Goodnight
They're
Express.
both looking swole and
Oh
jacked.
yeah,
They're back
they
with a
spent some time in
vengeance.
the gym,
They're
man.
back with a vengeance. They're ready to take back the titles that are rightfully theirs. The AEW World Tag Team titles. I would like to see the Guns and FTR have a program. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Program.
Mm.
Um, I would like to see them having a program because truly they started having a program, but then FTR kind of left, and
Well, yeah,
then the Guns
they
and the
kind of took those
Acclaimed.
2 months off after Wrestle Kingdom to kind of rest and recuperate their bodies because they
Right.
kind of needed it.
Yeah, because they were just
They
wrestling
were
all the time.
grinding that entire year, that entire 2022. They
Right,
were just
with
grinding,
winning
winning
titles
titles, defending them
with three
all
different
over the world.
promotions.
Yeah,
Yeah. So they definitely needed the time off. But honestly, I would like to have them have a program with the Guns because you kind of started it and now you kind of rekindled it
yeah,
because they came back and like, nope, yeah, we want these. We're back. We want these titles. And I'm all for it
Well, not to
because,
mention, the last time that FTR won the AEW Tag Team title, they did it in front of no crowd, or like a very, socially distanced, limited crowd.
right.
So, having them be champions in front of a packed, full house crowd would be nice.
Yes, it would be nice. I'm all for FTR winning those tag team titles because then you can kind of do some more with those tag team titles.
Yeah,
I mean, there still are a good amount of tag teams. I would like to eventually see Top Flight maybe going
yeah.
after them. But right
If
now
not
it's
those titles, definitely Ring of Honor.
right. Right now it's FTR's tag team titles to win back. So I'm hoping that's the case.
But also, I hope they don't relegate Top Flight to just being in that weird trio with AR Fox. Not that it's, you know, not that I'm opposed to that trio, but at the same time, it's like, don't also forget that they're a tag team, Top Flight,
Right.
and that they should be going after, like, they should be prominent players in that, tag team title picture.
Exactly.
So,
So we get on to the main event.
oh yeah,
Holy shit, man. You want to talk about a bloodfest?
oh
It was
yeah.
this match. But
Well, let's not fail to mention also that it went the full 60 minutes,
it did.
but it
Fans were
also,
chanting bullshit afterwards. But
because of the fact that it was tied 3-3 after 60 minutes. So what? Which? So okay, we'll go over all the falls. At least we'll try to go over all the falls that have happened in the match. So Brian Danielson, I believe, got the first fall via submission by
yeah,
the label lock, or was it the the running high knee and pinfall?
something like that. And then
Either way,
MJF did get a
then there was like
there was a
yeah,
disqualification by
there was a
MJF,
disqualification by MJF because he low blowed him
and
right in front of Bryce
there was
Remsburg.
two pins almost immediately
Yes,
back to back from MJF, which tied
which
it
brought it to 2
2-2.
to 2. Yeah, okay, no. So the first fall was, now that I'm remembering, the first fall was Brian hitting the running knee and getting a pinfall. Because it was the next fall after where Brian made MJF tap out to the label lock. And then um, MJF made Brian tap out with the salt of the earth. I'm pretty sure that's how that went. And then literally the seconds were winding down, and if I remember correctly, the submission that Brian Danielson had MJF in was a single leg Boston Crab in the middle of the ring. The, the clock had literally just ran out, and MJF tapped. I'm like, that's smart. That was smart because yeah, like but also in a way, MJF kind of cheated to win because um, after everything had happened, after initially they called it as a time limit draw, and it was tied 3-3. But then Tony Schiavone got a feed from Tony Khan in his ear to go down the ring, tell
Justin
Justin
Roberts.
Roberts to restart the match under sudden death rules. And so during that sudden death period, MJF was in another submission, made it to the ropes, but then as he's on the ropes, he tapped out. So in a way, MJF cheated because even if he's on the ropes and it forces the rope break, he still tapped. So but maybe there's like an unwritten rule about that I don't know about. That like, you know, even if you're like on the ropes or whatever, if you force a rope break, you can technically tap out because it's still forced a rope break. It's still
Right.
like
I think that's probably what happened. There was still a forced rope break.
yeah. Well, either way, MJF got another pinfall victory after using the uh no, he didn't even use the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He tried to use the
I think he
Dynamite
used the
Diamond
Heat
Ring.
Seeker.
Was it the Heat
I
Seeker?
think it was the Heat Seeker, and then got the victory from that afterwards. But let's just say
Uh,
that this match was
I don't quite remember
back and
all the.
forth. It was high hitting. It was just high impact. Um, MGF was literally hydrating more and more. Taz is like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's a bad idea because your stomach is just gonna have that water sitting in there," which is probably more so true than not. But he was probably super dehydrated
he
during that
probably was
match
very
because I'm
dehydrated.
pretty sure he's never gone a 60-minute match
No,
ever in his whole entire career up to this point. So he probably wasn't used to it. Where Daniels was like, "Pfft, this is like light work for me. I've lasted like 74 minutes
yeah.
at one time before."
I
So
mean, the greatest Royal Rumble, he literally, I believe that's what they were talking about on commentary when they're talking about like, he lasted like 74 or 75 minutes in a match before. I'm pretty sure they're talking about the time he was in the greatest Royal Rumble.
like you could definitely
So
clearly tell that MJF just wasn't
was
mentally
not mentally prepared.
prepared for a
Yes,
60-minute match. Hence why he was just
he
grabbing.
was.
He
He
grabbed
probably
like
was physically prepared
four
because he was.
waters in that
Yeah,
match.
he was probably physically prepared because before the Iron Man match, he had been posting all of this
Yeah,
stuff
I
from
will say
on
MJF has
Twitter
gotten
when he was like in the gym.
jacked. He has
But
been
being
like
in ring shape is is one thing, but being physically prepared for the match is one thing. Being mentally prepared for the match is another. And he was not mentally prepared.
especially when you're going up against a guy like Bryan Danielson for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna know that you're gonna have to like done it. And the thing is, Bryan Danielson in his what 1 year of being in AEW has
Two.
already
Two.
has it been 2 years?
Well, like one and a half.
I was gonna say has already done two 60-minute time limit
Yeah.
draws.
Well, he's already been in
Or was it
two matches
20,
in
20
AEW
minutes?
that
Was
are.
it 20 minutes or was it?
No, it was a 60 minute.
I was gonna say 60
Yeah.
minute. You
It
know,
was that 60 minute like time limit
so
draw against
Bryan
Hangman.
Danielson already had an advantage going into that match where he was already,
He's already been in
prepared
a. Yeah.
for two 60-minute matches. So he was already prepared to do it against, I tell you what, Bryan Danielson, give him a lot of credit for, for being kind of like the vet. The vet has been in, wrestling for a really a lot longer than MJF has, but give him the credit, even though he's, you know, not exactly young, but he can hold his own in those 60-minute matches, not showing any like signs of exhaustion too much, honestly, in those matches. But ultimately, I guess I'm okay with MGF winning and retaining, but I want to know when it's going to be at Bryan Danielson's time to win a world championship again. I really do
I have
want to
no
know,
idea, and especially before his
especially since
full
his
time career.
especially since his window
Yeah,
of being a wrestler is winding down.
yeah. He's
Eventually,
already been teasing that he's possibly looking to like put an end to his full time wrestling career. So he might try to go the route of like being a part timer. But even still, like, yeah, I agree. Like, you should absolutely give him a world title run before he ultimately calls it quits.
of course, next episode we're going to talk about it, but I kind of had to put some funny aspects on what Darby Allin
Oh
basically
yes.
buried MGF. Like, it almost felt like shoot esque, but I don't think it was. Like, I just
If anything, it could probably be like a work shoot.
it was kind of hilarious
It
because
was
he's talking about
funny as hell.
2024 bidding war with him. He's like, oh, I'm just, we got some
Well,
guys in his locker room that
yeah,
just
he was like, oh yeah, we
cry.
got people, grown ass wrestlers who are on social media and they're like, oh, I want to, I'm gonna complain. I don't like where I'm at. I want out of my contract and all this stuff. And he was like, and that includes you, MJF. It's like, well, yeah, he kind of did do that on
He's like,
Twitter.
you know what? I want a chance, the chance at your world title, and if I don't get it, maybe I'll just go
Maybe
complain
I'll just complain on
on
Twitter.
Twitter.
I I was gonna say I didn't know where Darby Allin was going with that. I thought maybe he was going the route of like Triple H like on that one episode of Raw where he's like, well then, by God, me and my friend Mark will stop watching. So, but yeah, either way, it was a funny joke from a
No,
man who usually doesn't do like funny jokes or really like funny anything.
right? No,
So
it was very interesting to see that coming out of Darby Allin. But
yeah,
honestly, everybody, it was nice being back for a change. But this is going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. Of course, down below, you want to follow us. You know you definitely do. So please follow us on social media at Tinkle Sports on all platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know, YouTube. So please follow us there. Of course, if you don't want to follow us there, you can follow us on YouTube at Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. If you want to catch more of us on there, you can, and or if you want to catch more of Brian and I or Brian by himself, you'll also want to watch Sunday Morning Tinkle every Sunday at 9 a.m. Out of turn 4 every Tuesday at 5, and usually the show every Wednesday at 5. But as of late, it's been kind of all over the place. But um, definitely follow us everywhere you can to keep up on more action and more sports and entertainment. As always, we will catch you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.